Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. Hello. Lovely listeners and viewers. Today, Jennifer and I are going to talk about myths about women. Lord knows there are a lot of them. There are so many, as Jennifer and I just know just from being women and living in the world, but also from research. There's a bunch of them. We're going to talk about them today and kind of talk about our feelings about them because we have lots of feelings about them, and I'm sure some of you do as well. So here we go. Okay, one of the myths that really chaps my ass is that there's the big one, that women are overly emotional. Women are overly sensitive. Okay, I cannot tell you how many times, and it almost always happened in relationships with men, like dating relationships, that I was told I was being too sensitive.
Were you?
Being too emotional. No, I was being a normal human being who was expressing my feelings because they had done something that hurt my feelings or that was mean or stupid.
So they did something mean or stupid. You said, ouch, that hurts. And they said, oh, you're being so emotional.
Yeah.
How dare you express feelings around being hurt?
Yeah, around anything.
Well, right. So it's a big myth in our culture. I wanted to talk about why is that a myth? Why is the myth perpetuated that women are too emotional?
It's partly patriarchy, or maybe mostly patriarchy. It is a tool to keep women controlled. Maybe it's so much a part of our culture now that people don't even realize that they're doing it or why they're doing it or the roots of it. It's incredibly damaging because, say, for instance, let's go back to Hillary Clinton running for president. In our culture, everybody was like, well, not everybody, but a lot of people didn't want a woman to be president because of, well, women are too emotional and she might fly off the handle and get her feelings hurt and then start a war. The sort of inference behind that is that women are emotional, but men are not, and men are not going to be controlled by their emotions. But it couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, how many of us know? I mean, everybody can point to a man who has emotional outbursts.
Oh my God, the president who beat Hillary Clinton had the most emotional outburst of any president I've ever witnessed in time.
Exactly. I literally, top of mind, I can think of at least 3 men who are emotionally dysregulated, but their outbursts are not called out.
Because for whatever reason, part of this myth is that men react from logic, whereas women react from emotion. And if Hillary Clinton were the president and she was having her period, she might just go off the deep end and hit the button for the nukes.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, that's what people were saying.
That is exactly what people were saying. And
sadly, people probably didn't even realize she was probably in menopause. She probably wasn't even having a period.
Yeah. She's probably like left that behind a while ago, people. Come on.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, even menopause aside, people still have this view, not all people, so, don't anybody yell at me, but people still have this view that women are the emotional sex, that women are controlled by their emotions, that women are ruled by their emotions and thus are not logical and thus can't be pragmatic, which is ridiculous.
Do you find that to be, like, if you were to analyze yourself and your own actions, do you think you react from emotion?
Internally, yes, but I control it. There are plenty of times in my life where I do not outwardly express the emotions that are going on inside of me. Because if we all just went around just expressing every single emotion without any sort of regulation, we'd be living in insanity. Okay, here's a good example. When I'm driving, I have a little bit of road rage. And I mean, not that I'm like cutting people off or anything, but I will cuss a blue streak as I am driving
That does
because
not surprise me.
but it's in the safety of my little bubble. I'm the only one in the car. I'm not like getting out of my car and yelling at people and blah. It's my safe space. It's the release. So it's safe, it's regulated, it's fine.
When the driver cuts you off, are you making gestures so that they can see it and you're like, so that they know that you're angry?
Sometimes. I mean, I'm being perfectly honest. Yes, sometimes I
Yeah.
do. It's not all the time. Usually I'm just talking basically to myself in the car out loud about stupid drivers, or somebody needs to get out of my way, or why are these people driving faster? I have places to go. Why don't they get, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. But it's regulated. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not projecting this onto any, do you know what I mean? I'm not, it stops there, right?
Yeah.
But how many
So if your
times,
finger was right over the button for the nuclear bomb and you got upset by somebody, you could stop yourself from
of course,
annihilating the world.
of course. And how many times have we all been in a situation where you work with somebody and they continually talk down to you or treat you poorly or whatever? You either ignore it or you wait until you're in a different situation and then you voice it, or you vent to your friends. You don't let loose on that person in the moment. It's not going to do you any good. It's probably going to get you fired. It's going to create a huge brouhaha, which is probably unnecessary. Women, I think in general, have to be kind of masters of our own emotions because of the way that society views us. I mean, think about work. Like you've talked about this before about wearing a mask. You know, we both talked about that. I think that is very common in, say, workplaces. We're all a little bit different at work than we are with our families or with our
Right.
friends. We're regulating our emotions and code switching all the time. And I think it's because it's frowned upon for women to express too much emotion or the wrong emotions, we are good at it. I mean, it's second nature, right? But a man doesn't have to do that. I mean, the former president is a perfect example. And I've worked in places where a male coworker or a male boss can say all kinds of things to people, about people, have outbursts, and there's never any repercussions.
They probably don't even get spoken to.
Exactly.
They probably don't even, unless it's one of us doing the confronting, they don't even probably get confronted, especially not by other males.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I completely agree with you on that.
Okay, so the myth is women are more emotional than men.
Right.
Men act from the rational. Have you ever witnessed men acting from the emotional?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Your face
Yeah.
said it all.
Yeah. 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 Oh my God. Yeah. It's not pretty. I mean, it's one of those things where you're like, what is wrong with you? Dial it down a little bit.
Going to your road rage example, there was this time I was driving and I was trying to get over a lane. I had my blinker on. I was trying to fit. And if I didn't go over, I was going to hit the wall. Like the lane was ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I cut the guy off. I didn't have a choice. He wasn't letting in. I had to go. I was going to hit the wall. And then, so I cut the guy off and I'm in front of him and I can see him like swearing and I can see him like fucking bitch, and all this.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to let that go. I cut him off. We get into the regular traffic and then he
Mhm.
starts fucking with me.
Oh no.
He drives behind me and gets right up on my tail, right up on my tail, right up on my
Oh my
tail, like
God.
screaming and yelling, giving me the finger. And then so I slow down and I start to pull over. And then he speeds around and he gets in front of me. I finally just went over to the side of the road because I actually was afraid of him at
Mhm.
a certain point. And I'm not saying all men act like that, but I was like, and I would have acknowledged that I cut him off.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
did. I didn't have a choice or I was going to hit the
Yeah. Yeah.
wall. That was road rage like I had never seen. And
Mm.
I remember coming out of that experience thinking, we really can get hurt at any time. I've always known that as women, our lives are in danger from men
Mhm.
all the time. I don't tend to internalize that on a daily basis. I know a
Yeah.
lot of women do. I know one of my daughters does, but I haven't really done that. But that day I
Mhm.
was like, oh, I get it. It would be
Yeah.
so easy for him to kill me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so
And
bad.
yeah, it's scary. It's
Yeah.
very scary.
So we're not too emotional. I think for me, when I've had like really traumatic things happen, like one
Mhm.
time I was babysitting my nephew and my niece when they were really little. They were jumping on my niece's bed and she pushed my nephew and she pushed him out the window.
Oh
He
God.
hit the glass and he went, and they were on the ground floor, so it wasn't like they were in the third floor or anything. I should
Okay.
clarify
Good.
that. But his head was just like gushing blood when I ran into the room and kind of pulled him from the window. But I was real calm. I took him to
Okay.
the bathroom. I set him down on the sink. I wiped off his head. I saw that, oh, we probably need stitches. I think it was before cell phone. I wrote my sister a note that
Mhm.
I'm taking the kid to the emergency room. I put the two kids in the car. My sister's car was a stick that was very hard to drive. It had like this weird, I don't know, she had it jimmied a little bit in order to get the
Uh-huh.
stick to work. So I just calmly did the stick with two kids in the car. I drove to the hospital,
Wow.
got him stitches, came home. My sister came home, and then she walked in the door, and I was like, I lost my shit then. But during the whole ordeal, I was like calm as can be, very matter of
Wow.
fact. And I feel like in the world of business and parenting, etc., people have almost accused me of being non-emotional. Like I can
Interesting.
compartmentalize that shit and be like real calm. When the
Right.
power went out the first time I was at work, no problem. I went into mode. I told people what to do. I figured it out. I didn't panic till later, till after it was over.
Wow.
So I don't know if that emotional thing, I don't know if it rings true. I think certain people, male,
Yeah.
female, all genders,
Yeah.
non-gender, we're just all different.
I think maybe the damaging or troubling part of any of the myths, regardless of whether it's myths about women, myths about men, myths about anybody, is that sometimes the inference is that, or the implication is that this group of people have this quality or dysfunction or whatever, but nobody else does, right? So when people say women are emotional, it's almost like they're saying, oh, women are emotional, men aren't. Women are emotional, that's a bad thing. Men don't have this. This is not bad for you. Do you know what I mean? And so it's almost like it's this black and white
Yes.
view of things, as opposed to men are emotional, women are emotional. Some women are not, some men are not. And depending on the situation, maybe you're emotional, maybe you're not.
And maybe you're
It's
emotional and you are still functioning well and you have control of your faculties. I,
exactly, yeah.
maybe being emotional is a human characteristic. Like
Yeah,
we are supposed to be experiencing emotions.
we are emotional beings. We're sentient beings. We're supposed to experience the world around us and express that.
And that
It,
whole
it's
myth makes us feel like to be emotional is a bad thing.
yes,
for
Yes.
men and for women, because it gives men the
Yep.
same message. It gives them the message of don't be emotional,
Yep.
don't show
It's
your emotions.
Yep. Shut it all down. Don't express emotion. With women, it's shut everything down, but be happy. Like that's the only good emotion that a woman
Smile.
can smile. Yeah. That's the
You're a
only
lot
good emotion
prettier
for a
when you
woman.
smile, Raquel. Did you know that?
God, I hate it when people tell me that. Oh my God. I can't tell you how many times some man has walked by me and gone, smile. You're so pretty when you smile. Dude, shut up. I'm just gonna walk around like smiling like an idiot. But
Pretty
anyway,
when I scowl.
I know, right? I'm pretty anyway, whatever I do. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm fucking
Um,
gorgeous when I'm angry. You should see it. It's sexy as hell.
exactly. And then, but with men, it's shove everything down. The only emotion you can show is anger or, I don't know, getting shit done or be a man. Our society is so focused on people just pushing emotions down and suppressing things,
Yep.
which is not good for anybody.
That
It's
myth is
stupid.
just done. But while you brought up that thing about Hillary Clinton, which I think was such a great point to bring up, thanks for that.
Mhm.
Do you think that that myth really helped lead to her losing the election?
Yeah,
I do too.
yeah, yeah, I really do.
And all the other myths about what
Hmm.
it would mean to have a woman president. But
Yeah.
that in particular, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. I really do. And I tell you, our society has got to get over that shit, like, and quickly.
Are we going to get over that as a society?
I would like to say that I am hopeful. I don't know how hopeful I am. I think it can happen. I don't know if it's going to happen in my lifetime.
It fucking better, Raquel.
No, I know it better. Yes, I agree with you.
It better.
I don't know if it's going to happen in our lifetime. I mean, hopefully, yes. I mean,
You know what sucks
yeah.
about it? Because, okay, chances are if we were going to have a female president, the first female president, she would be on the Democratic side. That's just the chances
Hmm.
are, right?
Hmm.
But the Democrats, it's like the safe bet thing. It's kind of like the way we have Joe Biden. Like he's the safe bet. So we can't
Right.
have a woman candidate because our woman candidate probably couldn't beat Trump, right? That's what they
Hmm.
said. Couldn't
Hmm.
beat Trump. So we couldn't have had any of that whole list of amazing candidates that stood up when
Hmm.
we picked in the middle Joe Biden
Hmm.
because he was the sure bet because those Republicans that didn't want to vote for Trump would vote for Joe Biden. Why?
Hmm.
Because he stands in the middle.
Hmm. I don't know. I
But
think hopefully that will change soon.
the Democratic Party believes if we don't have the safe bet that
Hmm.
Trump could be our next candidate again, or
Yeah.
worse, we could get that guy from Florida. What's his name?
Oh, DeSantis.
Oh yeah, DeSantis. Show everybody your shirt, Raquel.
Oh, hold on.
No, we can't have it.
Not
I
again.
mean, that's the thing. Look at how many days after the election we were still biting our fingernails, waiting to
Mm.
find out and how close it actually was.
Yeah.
And so then the conservative Democrats say we can't put a woman in, we can't put somebody who's more progressive. We can't
Hmm.
do it because we won't get those swing Republican voters
Yeah.
or
I don't.
those swing Democrat voters.
I think that the Democratic strategists
Suck.
who, well, there need to be some changes. And I think some of the strategists who are coming up now, who are starting to voice what you and I are talking about, that these things need to change, I think over time, and maybe not as long as I think, maybe it will happen in my lifetime. I don't know.
It
But
better.
I think because there are Democratic strategists who are coming up and being way more vocal and who are saying, okay, look, we need to change our strategy around this stuff, that they are going to start having some effect and people will start to listen to them. And then the change can happen. I mean, we see Democratic women leaders who are doing great things. For instance, Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. So, I mean, I'm not saying that she's, eyeing the presidency, but I mean, maybe she is. I don't know.
She probably is, but not this time around.
What I'm saying is there are plenty of Democratic women in leadership who are showcasing that this myth of women are emotional, women are too emotional to lead, blah, 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 extrapolate from there. But those things are not necessarily true and won't prevent them from being successful leaders and progressing in politics and eventually getting to the presidency, whoever they may be. So I think that is changing. And to kind of bring it maybe back to the myth discussion, there's another myth that I think also it can be incredibly damaging on both sides of the myth. The myth that all women want to be mothers.
Oh, yeah.
And so on the one hand, for women who do actually want to be mothers, there's the reality of taking time out to have children and raise their children and whatever, regardless of whether they still work during all that time, it does still affect their career momentum.
You don't have to tell me, sister.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But on the opposite side, for women who either don't want children or don't have children for whatever reason, whether by choice, circumstance, whatever, those women are saying, and I count myself in that because I don't have kids, I don't want to be a mom. Women in this camp are seen as, what's wrong with you? You're defective. Why don't you have kids? You must hate children, blah, 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 blah. So my fear is that there could be a woman who runs for president, has every qualification in the book, smart, compassionate, can work with people who disagree with her, whatever. But if she doesn't have kids, that'll be a strike against her. And I think there will be people who won't want to vote for that woman because they're like, well, she must hate kids. She doesn't have kids. How can she be, fulfilled as a woman because she doesn't have kids? She doesn't know what it's like to be a mother. That means she's less of a woman.
Is the myth you are less of a woman if you don't have kids, or the myth is that I'm trying to get to the actual myth.
The myth is that all women want to be mothers, and that all women, I guess, kind of twisting a little bit, is that all women should be mothers. The idea that our biology is our destiny.
So someone gets far enough along in their political career, or any career for that matter, and then they're disregarded because, there must be something fundamentally wrong with her because she doesn't have children.
And I'm not saying this is the case in every industry or every situation or whatever, but there is a societal belief that if you do not have children after a certain age, then, why didn't you have kids? Was something wrong with you? Did you not meet the right person? Do you hate kids? It's like, you must be defective if you don't have children. There must be a reason why you don't have children, and it must be something negative, like you hate kids, or you can't have kids, or you don't want kids, or you didn't meet the right person.
Before I interrupted you, you were about to say something happened to me personally. What was it that happened to you personally around the myth of all women must want to be a mother?
This has happened to me in several situations. I'll say even in, couple of situations, even in my own family. And I don't think anybody meant this in any sort of bad way. I remember my brother saying, it's just a phase. I'm like, No, it's not a phase. I don't want to be anybody's mother. Oh, you'll get over it. No, 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 no. He's beyond that now, but that was a real conversation that I had with my brother. In some of my friend circles, one circle in particular, there's a lot of friends in that circle who have kids and, varying ages. There would be discussion, somehow kids would come up. Every once in a while, like clockwork, somebody would go, "Oh, that's right, Raquel, you don't like kids."
Uh,
I'm like,
okay.
no, it doesn't mean I don't. I've never said I don't like kids. I like certain kids. If they're well behaved and they're nice kids, sure, I like them, but I don't want them. But that doesn't mean I don't like them.
Raquel, when your brother said it's just a phase,
Mm-hmm.
when he said those things to you, how did you feel about it? Because I'm trying to understand it from the perspective of how it's damaging. What does that do to you as a woman who has actively chosen not to have children?
It's making it seem like I don't know my own mind. It's invalidating. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
you don't really know what you want. Oh, you don't really know what you don't want. You don't really know. It's just a phase. You'll get over it. You'll get knocked up and then you'll just all of a sudden just glow with maternal instinct. I'm like, no, no. And because people have said that to me too, they're like, oh, but when it happens to you, I'm like, it's not going. And then I have
We
to
know
remind
how it
people,
happens and we know
yeah,
how to keep it from happening.
exactly. And I remind
Yeah.
people, A, there's birth control. B, there's abortion. And I'm like, just because I get pregnant doesn't mean I'm going to stay pregnant. And
Yeah.
I have to remind people of that. I'm like, if I happen to get pregnant, I'm not going to stay that way. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, now I'm postmenopausal, so, it'd have to be a miracle if it happened now. And even in that case, I would still stop that miracle because I don't want to be anybody's mom.
Well, I want to say one thing about that. When you were describing it to me, when your loved one is telling you that you don't know yourself well enough, it sounds like in a way they're treating you like a little girl instead of like a full grown woman. And the same thing with the
Yeah,
emotional thing.
yeah.
Women are too emotional. It's like they're treating us like children, like we don't have control of our own emotions or our own bodies or our own.
Yes.
I know if I want to have kids or not, and that's
Yeah,
for me to decide.
yeah.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think you're right. If we ever got to the point where there was a female running for president and they were very close to winning, either way, if they had kids, they would say, "Oh, well, she has kids. How will she have time to be the president?
Yep.
Oh, she doesn't have kids. She's not motherly. We don't want a woman who's not
Yep.
motherly running our country."
Right.
Right. It's always the woman's worth is tied to her offspring.
It's tied to her biology and whether or
Yeah.
not she fulfills that biological situation. Even if this hypothetical woman exists and shows up, if she doesn't have kids, but there's the situation of she tried and couldn't, or, when there's some tragedy, that'll come up too. It'll be like, oh, she's forgiven because she tried. And do you know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be some sort of, and I know this makes me seem totally pessimistic. My God, I know. But I mean, these are discussions I've had, you
No,
know?
I get it. And I want to say a couple things. I want to say number one, I'm really sorry that society has treated you and any other woman who has chosen not to have children in such a dismissive way. It's fucking bullshit.
It is.
It's fucking bullshit.
It is.
And number two, I remember my brother saying, I never want to have kids. And nobody blinked an eye. They were thinking,
Yep.
oh, that's probably a good idea. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
they're easy to let him off the hook.
Yes.
Why
Yeah.
didn't he have to procreate?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Like, okay,
It's nuts.
not all men should be fathers, right? It's okay. Not all men are family men.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all women must be family women.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, now I'm getting heated. I'm getting heated now, Raquel. What's the next one? Give me another myth.
Okay. Oh, here's one. Actually, it's kind of two, and they're
Okay.
closely tied together. Women are girls are bad at math, and women are bad with money. Yeah.
I can't even
I
speak because
I know.
the
I can
anger
just
is
see your face.
rising.
I can see your face, and it's like, oh, if this was a cartoon, it'd be like red just going up your face, and then like steam coming out of your head.
Yes, because this is actually a very sad and limiting belief. Because number one, there's no scientific basis for it. And in a lot of cases, girls, as they're going through school, start to, I don't have a better word for this, they start to dumb themselves down in their
Yep.
classes to
Yep.
appear that they're not good at certain things like math.
Hmm.
And girls sometimes don't try math because they've heard girls aren't good at math. So it can
Yep.
almost be a self-fulfilling prophecy as well.
Absolutely. There was, I don't remember when this was, but I think maybe it was when we were kids, or maybe we were in high school. It wasn't super recent. I don't know if it was Barbie or one of those dolls where it would actually talk,
Mhm.
and it would say, math is hard. And I remember just the uproar where people are like, why are you making a doll that says math is hard? Yeah, and people went nuts.
I just know that for me, the women in my family, and I'm only speaking anecdotally about my own family, but we're all good at math. We've
Yeah,
always been good at math. We figure it
yeah,
out. And
yeah,
I personally have been running my own finances. I ran my grandfather's finances. I took care of my mom's finances.
yeah,
I was a banker for a while as part of my
yeah,
career. I
yeah,
understand finances. And it's not because I don't have a male brain inside of my female body.
yep.
I don't know. It's frustrating to me. Where did that myth start?
It
Oh,
may be tied to the whole thing of the man controls the finances and he controls the purse strings, so he's in control,
right.
right?
Don't worry your pretty little head about it, Raquel. I'll take care of
Exactly.
all that. Don't worry your pretty little head. Just keep
Right,
smiling.
right. Just sit there and look pretty. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, no. I can
And
I can
then,
sit here and look pretty and know about my finances and do math.
well, I just think of all the ways that particular, that fear of math, that fear of money, that fear of finances
Hmm.
keeps women in a subservient relationship that doesn't need to be that way. We could
Yep.
be in relationships of all sorts, and
Hmm.
all partners know exactly where all money within a household is going.
Yep.
And if we don't have that information, then when something happens to that relationship, you divorce or someone dies or who knows, and then you're left not understanding anything about what your own household is about. That's a bad position to be in that I would
Hmm.
have never allowed myself to be in.
Hmm.
Never.
Hmm. Yep. But we see it all the time,
Well, of course.
and I think in your situation was maybe a little bit different because you said the way that your dad influenced you and raised you with, you're a strong woman, you can do anything, blah, blah, blah. Not every woman has a dad who is going to influence them and raise them in that way. So there sadly are a lot of women, even younger than us, who are in situations where they are not completely looped in with all of the finances in their
Yes.
relationship.
They're not looped in. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and also teaching my kids, all my kids, including
Hmm.
my niece, nephew, and my two daughters, more about finances because it's
Hmm.
something as a parent that I had it all under control. So I didn't think a whole lot about it until my
Yeah.
mom died. And when my mom died and I needed to take care of all of her financial arrangements, I realized, oh, my kids need to understand what's going on in our household,
Yep.
and all my kids.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me is that in my family, my grandmother was the financial mastermind. When my grandfather went off to the war and my grandma was taking care of my mom, she was like a Rosie Riveter. I don't know if she was doing
Oh,
that
cool.
exact job, but she was one of the first working women. And she saved every penny that she made while my grandpa was at war. And when he
Wow.
got home, she gave him the nest egg to start his business. Without
Hmm.
that nest
Wow.
egg, yeah, it's incredible. It's really an incredible story. My grandfather always acted like the family business, the finances, that was all him. But my grandma
Mm,
was the mastermind behind it
mhm.
all. And she taught my mom. And in turn, my mom taught me. And I thought about this recently. I really haven't taught my children much. My mom taught me how to balance a checking account very early.
Mhm.
She
Mhm.
talked about finances all the time. She said, because my mom had been divorced so many times, she was like, you always keep
Yeah.
your own checking account. She taught me this very young. She's like, you can have a joint account for expenses in the home, but you have your own
Yep.
checking account with your own money in it. You have your own credit cards. You have your car in your name. You have
Yep.
credit in your name. These things are important. I don't think
My mom
young,
said the same thing to me too.
yeah, yep. She's like, you make sure you are in charge of your financial situation. And
Mhm.
I don't know that all children are taught that. In fact, I haven't taught
Mhm.
my children that as well as I should have. And I'm going
Yeah.
to remedy that. I could see how, if that had been different and I didn't know a lot about finances or money, and I could see how going through all of the 12 years of school, having people again and again say girls aren't good at math, because I heard it a
Yep.
million times,
Mhm.
how I could have internalized that and just shut down in math class,
Yep.
because I
Yep.
see it. I see
Mhm.
kids shut down when they
Mhm.
don't think they can do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you tell a girl over and over again, math is hard, I'm Barbie, math is hard, I'm not even going to try it.
Absolutely. And I think in my situation, I think no, I know. One saving grace for me is that my mom was a mathematician and a
Uh,
scientist. My mom taught calculus. My mom was a professor and she taught all these things and she knew this stuff. I mean, my mom literally, even now, at the ripe old age of 84, gets thoroughly excited talking about math and science. Very excited. Like she just glows like you just handed her a chocolate bar. Like it's
that's
it's
awesome.
and it's super cool. And so I never walked around saying, "Oh, math is hard. I can't do math because I'm a girl." Because guess what? There's my mom right there, and she's living proof that being a woman is not gonna just automatically make you unable to do math. As we've been talking about this, something that pops up for me is in situations where people are financially distressed or financially limited in some way or just not making enough money, especially if it's a family led by a woman, say a single woman household or a divorced woman, whatever, and there's some sort of like financial insecurity there, the assumption more often than not is, oh, she's just bad with money. No,
Hmm.
no, 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 no. That woman is
She's
being
like,
creative as hell because she is keeping a roof over her head, keeping some food on the table, getting the kids to and from school, keeping the lights on. I mean, she might be robbing Peter to pay Paul and juggling stuff around and doing all the things, but she's making that shit work. The assumption that just because somebody is in a financially tenuous position that it's because they're bad with money, that assumption, that myth chaps my ass.
and we're not even accounting for the wage gap,
Yeah,
or the
exactly.
fact that lots and lots of times single mothers have to take jobs that work with their schedule, i.e., things in the service industry that make it hard for them to make a living wage.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
no, no, that's just fucking bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
So
one
yeah,
makes me
that's
mad.
yeah, that one pisses me off so bad. And I'll tell you, I fell victim to that myself for years. I mean, I just assumed, oh, I'm bad with money. No, I wasn't making enough. Damn, it wasn't, oh, I'm bad. It's, oh shit, in order to live my life and meet my needs, I'm not making enough. For years, that was the case. And oh my God, I internalized all that. And I was like, oh, I was so down on myself about that kind of stuff.
I totally get it, because I had enough to pay the bills and keep the lights on,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't have enough to, when my front porch was falling apart, to fix that, or my fence is falling apart, to fix that. And I now realize that I took this on myself, but I felt a lot of judgment from other people about
Mm-hmm.
that, my carpeting was nasty and old. I think that was me projecting because of the way I felt about these things. But I was paying bills. I wasn't buying new carpeting at that point in my
Mhm.
life. I was
Mhm.
feeding my kids and getting them where they needed to go. And
Yep.
there was only so much money to do that. And I have never, well, at least in the very longest time, not made minimum wage. I made well above. I
Mhm.
made a good salary and I
Mhm.
still could barely afford to live. So I do not know how people make it.
Yeah, it's
I do
hard.
not know. I do not know how they make it. And then if they have one thing happen, let's
Mhm.
say they're on their way to pick up their kids and the car stops in the middle of the road, how much is a tow truck?
Exactly. And how much is the repair going to be? And how are you going to get around in the meantime? Oh, okay. So now you need to get a rental car. Can you afford a rental car? If you can't afford
Uber,
a rental car, can you? Yeah, Uber is expensive as hell. Let me go ahead and tell you that right now. If you're
right?
relying on that shit, or do you live somewhere where you can take public transportation and is public transportation reliable? Or if you live out in the suburbs, guess what, baby? Public transportation probably doesn't come out to your house if you
But
live out in the
Raquel,
suburbs.
but Raquel, that's your fault because you're a girl and you're not good with money and you didn't save enough for that emergency fund.
Yep, yep. How dare you not have an emergency fund?
Do you think that is a myth that's targeted at women, or do you think that is a myth that's targeted at people of a certain financial means? Because I could see just as well
Both.
a young man on his way to work
Hmm.
struggling with a car breakdown,
Yeah,
or
I think it's both.
yet no
But
one can
when
even
it,
find affordable housing right now.
oh yeah,
Like,
it's ridiculous in any
no.
city. But I do think specifically when it comes to women, it's especially single woman with kids. The we're not we, not you and me, but like society is so quick to jump to she's not good with money. That's why she's having trouble.
Yes. And then also, I recall when I was really stretching money, people would be like, what are you buying that for? Like, I'm not allowed
Right?
to buy anything.
Yeah,
What?
like the whole idea of if you go and buy yourself a latte, you should put that money to something else. And
Right.
well,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Like, what are you buying that for? You are making poor financial decisions all over the place because you went out to dinner.
yeah.
And I just don't find that to be true, nor did I find that to be true. I knew exactly what I was spending and when I was
Yeah.
spending.
And it's not helpful. Just because somebody has is in a financially stressful situation, does that mean that they're not allowed to have some joy in their life?
Well, no, of course not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's but there's so many people who think that.
You're not allowed to have any joy if you're
No joy. No
if
joy.
you're
If you have no
if
if you
if
have no money, no joy
if
for
you
you.
have children and no man, no joy for you.
No joy for you. You are not allowed.
All
I
right,
know.
I love that one. Give me another. Give me another.
Okay.
What do you got?
Okay. Another one is that women are not ambitious.
I know that women are ambitious, as you
Yeah.
probably know that women are
Yeah.
ambitious. Some people are,
Yeah.
some people aren't. This one I think is an interesting one because I'll tell you this, but I'm just going to share my own personal story because I don't
Yeah.
know any other way to explain this. Before I had kids, I wasn't ambitious at all.
Oh, okay.
I would have been content to travel, get a
Mhm.
job waitressing wherever I was, wait a few tables, spend some time. I would have been one of those van people. Get me a nice van. I'll drive around from city to
Yeah.
city, work in different jobs. I'd probably have tried farming and everything else. And I would have loved that life. When I had kids, I got ambitious because I knew my kids needed a home and food. And so then I was like, okay, I gotta make some serious money. And I did pretty well.
Mhm.
But I did come across one man, I remember in particular, when I was working with him, something came up that I couldn't go to because of my kids, and I don't remember why. And he was disgusted with it. And he was like, ugh, I would go. And I'm like, you're going to tell me that if this was happening, you would go? And he was like, yeah, whatever it takes. And his exact words were, that's my wife's job. She can stay home and take care of the kids. Whatever it takes so that I do well in my job. Your face. Yeah.
Damn.
And then I started this joke at work that I said all the time. And I think I'm the only one that ever got it. But when the other male managers around, I was like, damn, I wish I could get me a wife. Where can I get me one of
Right?
those? Yeah,
Right?
because
Yes.
yeah, with the luxury of having a wife. How awesome.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I'm just talking strictly from myself, a woman who has kids. I remember when my boss gave me the best offer at work. We were working side by side. Shit was happening. I was feeling very proud. My ego was skyrocketing. And then there was this day at work where our whole store flooded with water. The ice broke some main, and it was like, it wasn't just water, it was freezing cold water because it was in the middle of winter. And people were in the rafters, and my kids were home, and it's in the middle of an ice storm. And I just thought to myself, I really can't do this job and take care of my kids. I can't give 100% my year and 100% to my kids. I can't do it.
Oh
And so I told
no.
him, and he was like, okay, I understand. And he's like, maybe in a few years when your kids are older, maybe this is something you'd want to do. Maybe men have the same thing happen.
Hmm.
Maybe it's back to that assumption that all women put their kids before their job. I don't think that's true either.
Hmm.
I think we all have to do what's right for us. For me, in my particular situation, I never regretted that decision.
Yeah.
Not for a second. I wouldn't be doing all of the things that I am doing. I wouldn't have taken care of my mom. I wouldn't be podcasting with you.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have been home with my kids. Those things mean so much more to me than that job did. And so maybe what I'm saying is I'm not that ambitious. I wasn't ambitious without my kids, but that's just the me trait.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
don't know.
But
I might have just proved the myth, Raquel.
I don't think so. I think first off, you had the choice,
I
right?
did have
You
the
know what I
choice.
mean? You had a choice. So
And
you
it
could
was
go
tempting.
right.
It
Oh,
was
I'm sure.
tempting.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
My ego liked every bit of that, all of the travel, being the boss. I loved every bit of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you're proving the myth at all. I think you're proving that you were in a situation where you were able to make that choice,
What a
which is
blessing,
which
huh?
is incredible. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
incredibly fortunate. Yeah. I think the myth that women are not ambitious is complete bullshit. I know plenty of women who
Hillary Clinton's ambitious
Hillary Clinton, but on the other hand, she got lambasted for it. I mean, it's
because
like,
the myth is women aren't ambitious. They don't want her to be
and if
authentic.
she is ambitious, what's wrong with her? Why is she ambitious? Or she must be some kind of, I don't
Nasty
know,
woman.
some nasty woman, or some kind of ball buster, or she doesn't really love her kids. Why isn't she staying at home taking care of her kids instead of pursuing this blah 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 blah? Right?
Yeah, you can't win that one.
Yeah, you can't win that one at all. You just can't win that one.
I think in a different life, a different set of circumstances, I could have been an ambitious person. I loved that career. I loved
Hmm.
it with
Yeah.
almost every fiber of my being,
Wow.
but I couldn't do both simultaneously.
Hmm. Hmm.
If I could have done
Because you
them
didn't
both,
have a wife. You didn't have somebody at home
yeah,
to help you.
you're right. I needed a
Think
damn
about it.
wife.
The 40-hour work week.
Anybody want to be my wife out there? I could use a
Right.
wife.
Right. I'll just take a part-time wife. Can somebody just like help with cleaning? I mean, come on. But honestly, I mean, it's
Raquel.
the 40-hour work week is
Right.
premised on the fact that
We,
there's somebody at home taking care of the
we
cleaning, the
weren't
shopping, the working, I mean the kids, all that
we
shit.
weren't working 40 hours. We were working 55 probably. 50
Yeah,
if we were lucky. We weren't working 40 hours. I
exactly.
and now I look back, now that I'm not working, my days go by so fast, and I sit here and I honestly think, how did I do all of the stuff that I did? How
Uh-huh.
did I do it? No wonder I don't even remember half those years. The
Yeah,
grind, baby, the grind.
yeah. It's capitalism at its finest. Work, 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 work until you die.
Are you ambitious?
I am. My fulfillment of ambition doesn't look like what I think society at large thinks it's supposed to look like, because I've defined success differently than I think society says you're supposed to define it. I think when we think of people who are ambitious, we think of people who are like, oh, I'm gonna be the president of the United States, or I'm gonna be the president of that company, or I'm gonna be CEO, or I'm gonna be yeah, all that stuff is cool. But I don't want to kill myself in the process. Like, I don't want to die of a heart attack at 60. I want the podcast to be successful. I want to talk to as many awesome, cool, interesting people as I can. I want to travel. I want to buy a home. Like, there's things that, these are the things that I'm ambitious about. Success for me is my definition, but it took me a while to get to that point, because for so long I had internalized that definition of success and ambition that the world says you're supposed to have, and I didn't have those things. And so I thought, oh, I'm bad, I'm not successful, it's a failing of mine as a human being, not it's a failing of society. It's not, the opportunities that should be afforded to me aren't there, right?
Maybe it's not a failing.
Well, I see that now, but at the time, I literally saw it as a failing. I saw it as me being a failure because I hadn't achieved X, Y, and Z. So I had to go through this whole thing of, because I was like, I don't want to feel like this forever.
Yeah.
I mean, this is ridiculous. I'm, aside from this one thing not being ideal, I'm a good person. I have a good heart, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to feel this way. So I literally had to work on, do I want all those things that society says I should want? And I'm like, I don't want to work 80 hours a week. I don't want to be accessible on like a Sunday morning because, you know, somebody is. Yeah,
I was
and
accessible
I never wanted
24/7.
Yeah, and I never wanted to be that.
And Raquel, this one time I was with my boyfriend. We were like doing a thing, getting it on, right? And I get a text from my boss. So I turn the phone over. And then I get a ping, an email from my boss. I ignore it. A few minutes later, I get a phone call. It's like, and I was on vacation. So, yeah. That's what people don't tell you. That whole, that's part of what people might not understand about this whole successful thing. And I'm with you, man. It's for the birds.
Yeah.
I really loved it when I was there, but they're going to have to pull me dragging and screaming back because I'm not doing it.
It's going to have to be on your terms.
Right. Boundaries. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have probably time for one more.
What's one that you get like really just burned up about?
I was reading this article on Goodful. It's called "Women Are Pointing Out Stupid Myths About Women." And I'm going to rip my ears off my head if I hear a man say one of these one more time. This woman, Morgan Sloss, wrote it. And she said, as a woman, I know all too well that many men out there believe some ridiculous shit about us ladies. And she's right. But here's the one. And this one is getting graphic. So I love this one. That we get loose when we have multiple partners.
Oh,
yeah. I've seen it on TikTok. I've seen people talk about it. I remember being a teenager and having this guy who was dating multiple women telling me that, have you ever noticed that a woman who has multiple boyfriends, she's looser? And I'm like, well, how would I know? I haven't been in there.
Been in there.
Right. How would I know that? But if you think about it logically, and men are supposed to think logically, it doesn't really make sense. Multiple partners and you get looser, but if you're with one guy for the rest of your life, having sex probably more often.
This is what I thought of when I read that. It's kind of like, well, it is. It's slut shaming. Because God help you if you're a woman who's been with more than X number of men.
What's the X number? What's okay for a guy? Like 3?
Well, I think, I don't know, 5. I don't know.
Like,
Whatever.
like what's okay for these guys? I think these guys that have this problem, you better be the only one.
Right, exactly. And that's but that's what I'm saying. It's like if you're a woman who's been with whatever number of men, like more than one or more than two, then ooh, you must be a slut. B, it must be loose down there because you've been with so many men. And C, how dare you like sex? Right? It's oh
And also, maybe they're just a tiny bit afraid that,
they won't measure up.
well, I'm thinking, first of all, I'm thinking if they think every woman is feeling loose, maybe it has more to do with their body proportion than her body proportion.
That could be.
I feel like it comes from this fear from a man.
Okay.
Not every man, of course, we say this a million times. We're not talking about every man. We know you're
Yeah.
not all the same.
Yeah.
That if I am with a woman who has been with multiple partners, maybe she might like a partner better than me, or
Yep.
maybe she may think I'm not talented, or maybe
Yep.
I'm not satisfying to her, or I think it comes from man fear more than it comes to do with any kind of, plus like women have babies and that
Yeah.
thing stretches like
Yeah.
head comes out of there,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
right?
real life.
A whole damn baby's coming out of there, and most of the
Yeah.
time it goes right back to normal.
And a baby's head is far bigger
Yeah.
than a man's penis.
Well,
Like
that's one
even
where
the most
you guys,
endowed.
you guys who are so rational just are not rationalizing this very well.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. You
coming
guys are
from
not being
fear.
logical.
They're being
It's
emotional.
yes, they are. How dare they? I thought only women were emotional.
We are man bashing, Raquel.
We're only some
Well,
of
you know,
them.
all feminists hate men.
Well, yeah. I mean that. Didn't you
You
know?
must. You are like a double whammy because you hate men and children.
I hate men and babies.
So we didn't get through very many of these myths.
We got through the big ones. One thing that I've learned from this discussion is that these myths are multifaceted. It's never about just one thing. It encompasses so much and it gets distilled down to one thing. But when you actually talk about them and peek behind the curtain, there's a whole bunch of shit that's behind these myths that, I mean, sure,
Patriarchy.
yeah, patriarchy, fear, lack of knowledge, it's all just a giant mess.
And why is it important to take a moment to talk about myths, and why is it important to clear them up?
It's important to not take things at face value anyway, because I mean, that's something that at least used to be taught in schools of how to think critically, how to question information and look beyond it to find the truth of it. Kind of like the scientific method, right?
Yeah.
You're presented with a hypothesis and you don't accept it as fact until it's proven. So you look behind it, you explore it, you think it through, you talk it through. And that's how you start to understand it.
I think about this is really important for young women because everything that was said as a myth, if they perceive all of this to be true of themselves, they're not really giving themselves the opportunity to live fully.
Exactly.
Or to fully experience themselves. And the same with men. I really love that your mother was a scientist and a mathematician because that is representation at its finest. And I loved that movie, and I've been trying to think of what it was called, but it was basically the women that were behind
Hidden Figures.
Yes. How did you know
Love.
that's what I was talking about? That was such a good movie.
Love that movie.
And it was mostly women doing the math.
They basically helped get man to the moon.
I think showing movies like that is an important thing for young women to see. I loved that one. I loved the one about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when they talked
Yeah.
about her history and how she got to where she was, those types of things, that's what we need to see.
And I will say, I think it's really important for boys and young men to see those movies as well, and to know those stories, and to know the history and all the things too, because then they see that women can do these things, and maybe they can even see that somebody different can do these things, so they go out into the world and they aren't thinking limiting things about other people.
And I think just when those things happen, not getting emotional like a woman and getting mad about it, but I'm just joking there. But just like maybe questioning the myth a little bit, like, oh, is that really true? Is that really true? Because maybe it's not.
Again, critical thinking. This was a really good discussion, though.
And fun.
I like this. Yeah, very fun.
Poked a little fun at this stuff today.
I know, right? Poking the bear a little bit. It's good. You have to do that from time to time. It's good to question this stuff. It's good to talk about it. Maybe the next myth, or the next person who hears the next myth, will be like, hold on, let me think about that for a minute.
Bye, Raquel.
Bye, Jennifer. Thanks, everyone, for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast, or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.